Hello, hockey fans, and welcome back to another episode of High Flying, the podcast made for the fans.
By the fans.
Once again, my name is Nolan, and I am here with my co-host Jude Wessel.
How's it going?
Doing good, buddy. Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. For those that don't know, the liquor strike in BC has ended. So for myself, huge. That might give the wrong impression. For work purposes, this is very big for me. It won't be disgustingly busy every single day. So that's nice. It's been a long weekend for your boy. Let's go.
There we
Let's go.
go. There we go.
Let's
We
go.
got some liquor on the shelves. If your team is winning, you can celebrate, and if your team is losing, you can drown your sorrows.
Second, you know the saying, Nolan.
Dude,
Win or lose, we booze. So
that's right. Refresh the memory there.
yeah, yeah. Win or lose, we booze. So everybody. There should be some drinks on the shelves as we progress going forward. My life just got a lot easier because it's been a hectic few weeks, I'll say that. For those
Yeah,
that don't
and
know,
you know what?
no, go for
Or
it, sorry.
go ahead. Go
Oh
ahead.
my God. Okay, what are we doing here? For those that don't know, this does massively impact my life for work purposes. So yeah, gonna be nice. It was a ridiculously hectic weekend. Lots of traffic where I work, so
And you know what? There could be more reason to celebrate and the sports talk here. Normally, I feel like when the hockey season is going, that's generally what I'm most excited for. I think the best stories in sports this past week have nothing to do with hockey. And we got the Jays in the World
okay.
Series game 3 tonight.
Wow, you
And
want to
I'm
go
not a baseball
baseball?
guy. We have to. Like, don't you think the World Series is a little bigger to
Oh,
start off with than anything going on?
absolutely. You're never gonna get a complaint from me opening up the pod with baseball. This is insane.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to take advantage of this.
Yeah. So for those who know me, I'm not a baseball guy. I don't know that much about baseball. I don't really like baseball. However, being that there's only one Canadian team in the MLB, and I kind of felt this way when the Raptors were in the NBA championship as well, you kind of have to embrace a Canadian a Canadian World Championship of any sort of, sporting event.
Yeah, okay. I mean,
Now,
I'm with you. I'm with you to a degree. I think there's a lot of people living in BC right now, where we all live, who were fairly disappointed in the Mariners getting knocked out there, especially in Game 7, having never been to the World Series. But I can't cheer for the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think if you've been a listener of the pod for a while, or if you know me personally, you'll know that I'm a massive Yankees fan, die hard. For me, really, it's the Canucks and it's the Yankees. And it kind of worked out perfectly this year, not for my Yankees fandom, but in that the MLB season ended for me with the Jays beating the Yankees. The next day, the Canucks had their first game of the season, so it worked out perfectly. But that being said, most of my best friends are Jays fans. A lot of people I've been coming into contact with at work and just in life are cheering for the Jays. And personally, as a Yankees fan, cannot find it in myself to cheer for the Dodgers in any way, shape, or form. So I'd be happy for my friends to see the Jays win. So I guess I can concede on that front.
yeah, and that was one of the questions I was going to ask you, having the Jays knocking out the Yankees, kind of where your allegiance stands. I just think this is for someone who's very much a neutral in baseball. I just think this is super exciting. Like I remember, like I said, I think it was, what was it, 2019? The Raptors were in the NBA finals, and that had a lot of hype leading up to it. Firing Dwayne Casey in the off season, you bring in Kawhi. That was their first championship. That whole season kind of had some magic and some hype around it. I remember we had a work dinner and we're sitting at Earl's with Ethan. Ethan was there and they got the game going on in the background. And even if you weren't a basketball fan, you're still kind of following it. And so for baseball, I'm definitely more into basketball than I am baseball, and obviously the Blue Jays have won twice in 92 and 93. It's been a little while. I haven't witnessed a Toronto Blue Jays World Championship. I think this is pretty cool. And I would say, whereas basketball is very individual driven, with you got like Kawhi winning or Jokic winning or Giannis winning, I feel like
LeBron James.
or yeah, you can name any winner. I feel like baseball is a lot more team oriented, and for the guys who have been there for their whole career, the Bo Bichette's, the Vladdy Guerrero Juniors, I think it's a really cool experience opportunity. You're going up against maybe the greatest baseball player ever, which is always a little bit of a challenge. But I'm hoping that Toronto can pull it out. This has me a little bit invested, and this is the first time I think I've ever been invested
Well,
in baseball.
yeah. So taking a step back a little bit from the overarching perspective, not so much a fan perspective, I definitely think it's been good for baseball in Canada that the Blue Jays have gone on this run because, like you're saying, not a massive baseball guy yourself, but just the fact that the Jays went on this run and they did end up making it to the World Series is drawing in people that otherwise never would have been invested in baseball or really given it the time of day. And I think that's cool because baseball is very unique in the sense that, especially when you get to the playoffs, you're hanging on every pitch. Like it takes one swing of the bat to fully change a game, to fully change a series. And it's a feeling, especially with the new clock. For those that don't know, a couple years ago, there was massive rule changes to baseball where they brought in a pitch clock. And the attempt of that was to really speed up the games and get them over with faster, which has been unbelievable for baseball. It's so much more watchable game to game. But especially when we get to the playoffs here, that that rise and fall of anticipation in your body when the pitcher's on the mound and you really care and you're invested. There's not a lot of time between, okay, all this buildup for this pitch. He throws it and it's like, okay, there's nowhere really for your energy to go unless somebody hits a home run or it's a massive strikeout or whatever. But it's just a crazy roller coaster of emotions to ride going through 9 innings of a baseball game in the playoffs when you really care. And it never gets bigger than right now in the World Series. So I'm happy it's 1-1. I thought it was really cool. The Blue Jays made a big statement that first game, and it should be a good series going forward. The one thing that worries me a little for the Blue Jays is that their starting pitching is running thin a bit. They obviously use their two best guys right so like right now through the playoffs in the first two games in Trey Savage and Kevin Gausman. Going forward, I think the Dodgers have a pretty big starting pitcher advantage. Scherzer, everybody knows is his dog. He's starting for the Jays in Game 3. Three-time Cy Young winner, World Series champion, and I think he'll have a good outing tomorrow. But the Dodgers certainly with Glasnow and with Shohei still to come as starting pitchers have an advantage. But everybody's been saying since the series started, if the Blue Jays can get to the starting pitcher, whoever it may be for the Dodgers, their bullpen is the weak point of their team, and the Jays thrive on obviously contact hitting, but also it seems just so contagious with their team. Like one guy gets a hit and the momentum just really starts to swing in their favor. So I think, as a lot of people have said, if they can get to the starting pitching of the Dodgers, then they'll have a chance throughout the series. But yeah, obviously their pitching needs to hold up their end of the bargain.
Yeah, and obviously any professional athlete wants to win a championship in their sport. That's the ultimate goal. And I haven't followed the MLB season closely enough to know if there are any external storylines from this, but like one thing that definitely comes to mind, Max Scherzer is 41 years old. I don't know if he's already announced this or not, but this could be his final season. This could be a swan song. So that's kind of, the emotional, an additional emotional catalyst. Not that you need one, to kind of pump up the locker room even more, especially going into game three, which he's the starting pitcher.
Yeah, would be a hell of a way to end a career. He hasn't said whether or not he's retiring, as far as I've seen. And I think it kind of goes one of two ways if you're a player of his age and caliber at this point in your career. I feel like it could either galvanize him going to the World Series, like, man, I can't give this up yet. I need to go one more. Or it really is that, like, hey, I'm going to leave everything I have out there and win or lose, I'm going to call her. Maybe it's dependent on the result here for him, but either way, he's a Hall of Fame pitcher, and I think everybody knows the legacy he's going to leave, regardless of a win or a loss tomorrow. Or today, I guess, at the time of recording, he's pitching in a couple hours. So
Yeah,
we'll see how
I think
Scherzer does
it's
tonight.
tonight.
Yeah, anyways,
Yeah.
But yeah, baseball playoffs, unbelievable to watch if you haven't been following along. A couple guys I want to shout out here. Vlad Guerrero Jr. is currently sporting a 431 average in the playoffs. That's ungodly. He destroyed the Yankees. He's been unbelievable this playoffs. If the Jays are able to pull it out, it's going to be a playoff run for the ages for Vlad Guerrero and a lot of guys on their team. Um, Springer, obviously, everybody knows how good he is, former champion, even though he's kind of a cheater. Um, but they've had tons of guys stepping up. Alejandro Kirk ripping bombs. It's kind of what he provides. Not really expecting any extra base hits from him if it's in the field. But yeah, guys like Ernie Clement and Nathan Lucas, long time in the minors. They've the big leagues. They find their roles, what they can do to contribute, find a way to get the ball in play. Don't strike out. It's so the Blue Jays have had a lot of contributions from guys that maybe you necessarily hadn't heard of before this year, but they really just understand their roles and they're really playing a team game, which is cool. It's kind of a throwback in baseball. So yeah, that's cool to see. Like I said, I can't cheer for the Dodgers. Fuck those guys. So yeah, it'll be cool to see what happens over the next week. Hopefully Canada can take a W here for once.
Yeah, absolutely. Go Jays, go. I'm all for him, and we'll see how the rest of the series goes. And I'm not the biggest fan of just sitting down watching a game, but for all the fans out there, I always hope these things go to 7 games because who does
Exactly.
more
And
sports, right? It's more results than less.
yeah, absolutely. 100%. If you don't have a massive horse in the race, obviously a lot of people in Canada do, but you want it to go 7, you want it to be good games, as much drama as possible. Just quickly before we move on from baseball, I wanted to add that Rob Manfred, the commissioner of the MLB, or I guess of MLB, today stated that expansion in Canada was possible beyond Montreal, which is pretty exciting for me living in Vancouver and Nolan and Ethan also living in Vancouver and I guess BC, we'll say. Totally well live in BC. But that kind of tells me there's only one other city in Canada that could possibly have enough people to maintain a professional baseball franchise, or I guess a major league baseball franchise because we have the Canadians. Shout out. But yeah, Rob Manfred
Right.
said that today. And for me, obviously, I don't know where they'd play. I'm not sure if we could find the space. But holy shit, if a team came to Vancouver, an MLB team, I'm locked in right away. I'm going to every single game that I can. That would be unbelievable. I might appreciate that over an NBA franchise coming back to Vancouver, which might be a hot take for some, but
Well, well, they would definitely need to build a new stadium because the Nat Bailey is kind of a dump. It's not the nicest park in the world, and
yeah,
obviously
but
it's too small. Like you don't have the room to renovate it, so you'd have to,
yeah,
uh, build something somewhere, which Vancouver does not have a lot of large open
I
space
was saying this
left.
to my mom earlier. She was not for it. She was not happy with this statement. But I said, why don't we just carve out a massive chunk of Stanley Park? Okay, build a baseball stadium. Would not be good for the scenery. I understand. Maybe not great for the environment, but I want baseball in Vancouver. If that's a possibility and that's the only way to get her done, wouldn't have to be huge. You can build, just take one, maybe the southwesternmost part of Stanley Park. Imagine the views. It would be the coolest looking ballpark in baseball. It would be so sick to get an MLB team here.
I
I
think
got really fired up.
the views would be good. I think that would be a terrible idea.
I think most
I like Stanley Park. I like the environment. I'm not trying to kill trees. Uh,
not that I don't like Stanley Park or I'm trying to kill the trees, but I'm just saying if that's what it comes down to, we can't find the land. Be a lot of money
you
pumping into the economy right there. You just gotta think about it.
Where you can find the land is outside of Vancouver, though. If you don't have it in proper Vancouver, like there's a lot of land available, say like in Burnaby, for example, or Richmond or North Van. They probably would never go for it in North Van because they don't want people driving over the bridge. Imagine the traffic trying to get out of those
No,
games.
that's impossible. Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, I don't see a stadium happening in proper Vancouver outside of it. That's an option.
Yeah, so I think I was looking on maps earlier today, because I got very fired up when I read this from Mr. Manfred. But Richmond North Delta kind of seemed to have a fair bit of space, a fair bit of farmland, which again, not ideal to have to get rid of farmland to build a stadium, but how much, how much farming do we really do out in Vancouver for the big time stuff? So I think it's a small sacrifice to pay for getting a massive bump in the economy, and also an MLB team in Vancouver would just be so sick. That's a summer sport. There you go. Your summer is filled every single day. You're just going on a game, watching a ball game. You never know. But anyways, we've gone on baseball probably longer than Nolan wanted to, and I took that on a tangent. But yeah, thought it was important to bring up.
No.
Rob Manfred did say it's possible that Vancouver one day gets an MLB team.
And I don't mind you bringing that up at all. Obviously, I think Montreal, I think gets one first. Already having a stadium there, I assume they would just renovate Olympic Stadium. But no, I think we had to start with baseball because baseball is very much the hot topic right now. And I think the other hot topic, I think there's a second storyline going on in the sports world uh, that's not uh, hockey based. This one's a little less fun. This is why you do not host illegal poker games. We're all learning a
Oh,
lesson about
oh,
gambling. Jude, who likes to frequent the sports apps legally,
whoa,
can be an advocate for the proper way to gamble.
whoa. Call me out a bit there. I gamble a reasonable amount, not too often. Um, I think everybody can agree it sucks to lose money a lot more than it feels good to win money. So generally, I'm pretty tame with my sports gambling, but I understand it's a good time if you're sitting there watching a game between two, you could say bad teams, or an unexciting matchup. You throw $5 on a game here or there, it just adds an extra level of intrigue. So I think everybody can understand why people may want to gamble on sports. It's been going on forever, even before it was a legal entity and there was a big business involved. But I think the NBA particularly has a big problem with this because right now there's so many different prop bets that you can place on little stuff, and that kind of allows the players to, if they want to, take a look at that and have an impact on the game. And we've seen this isn't the first time. Jonte Porter last year with the Raptors, he wasn't a big name player, obviously, and wasn't having a huge impact on games. But those are kind of the guys you have to worry about more so, I think, going forward, that are not on huge contracts and are thinking, huh, maybe I can make a couple extra bucks, just doing this once, twice, whatever. But it's not a good look for the league for sure, especially from Terry Rozier, who's making $26 million this year. Like, what are we doing? Just a ridiculous, ridiculous thing to do.
Yeah, and hopefully he can afford good lawyers with that $26 million dollars. And obviously the guys are charged. They're not convicted yet, but they're probably most likely going to be. I think when the FBI gets involved, that's pretty substantial evidence. Chauncey Billups kind of surprised me a little bit to hear a coach's name involved in that. But this kind of, for those who listen to us and maybe don't follow the NBA, this kind of takes me back to a story we talked about in the off season when Rick Tocchet was charged with gambling charges, and probably not to the same extent that this operation is. So if you don't know, 2007, it was Rick Tocchet. There were a few other names thrown around. Travis Green was one of them. Janet Jones was one of them. I believe Tocchet was the only one charged. So you can kind of equate the NBA to that if you're a hockey fan. I think the NBA one is on a bigger scale. I don't understand why, if you are an athlete making millions of dollars, you're going to risk that for something is highly illegal and something you're likely going to get caught. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, as a kid, I think it's everyone kind of pretends that they're in the mafia at one point or another. Like, that's kind of cool. Not legal, but like kind of cool. Uh, but don't do it in real life, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't understand why a guy like Rozier, who's should be set for life with the amount of money he's made in contracts in the NBA, would do this, other than the fact that I guess it is an addiction, something that people do struggle with. And I think really this whole scandal raises a bigger question of should the leagues be partnering and pushing as much as they are the gambling and the sports books and taking tons of money from them, doing big deals. Ever since this has really started and sports gambling became legal in most states and all of Canada, I guess, it's it's going to raise some eyebrows when you have stuff like this going on. But what can the leagues really say? Because they've been pushing this and peddling this. It kind of seems like it was almost an inevitability in a sport that has so many little plays that can impact parlays and all the tiny prop bets that are going on. So I feel bad for Rozier in a way, but at the same time, have you guys seen the clip of him in the game against, I think they were playing Charlotte, and he's just throwing the ball away left, right, and center, not even trying to make basketball plays, ripping the worst threes I've ever seen, airballing like crazy. Yeah, it's right here. It's right here, Ethan, if you want to pull up that video. It's watch this,
Oh,
Noah.
yes,
This
yes,
is
yes. No, I've seen that. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, for the people who haven't seen it, I mean, some of these plays are just out of hand. Like he's turning the ball over like it's burning his fingers. And yeah, so not great. Hopefully the rest of the players can learn from it and take this as an example. And I think they do need to come down hard on these guys if it is proven that he was throwing games and fixing games. And yeah, you need to go as hard as you can because that's the whole thing of sports is that it's supposed to be accountable in that sense. You're trusting these guys with not only your money, but your fandom and your time. The integrity of the game is the most important thing. So if that starts to get questioned, then the whole business of sports and everything that revolves around it starts to come into question. So it's really not something that the leagues can afford to play with.
yeah. Yeah, and I think on like a personal level, as a fan, you want to have the notion that any given team can win on any given night. And I, you can look at the accounts of every date something has happened due to the activity. There's um, over 30 people charged in this case. The other thing I think of too is if you're one of his teammates and you find out that, Terry Rozier's been doing this, if you're losing games, like I have no clue what Miami's record was. I don't follow it. I don't know if they've been a good team or if they've been a bad team. I don't really care. But I'd be really pissed off if my teammate was throwing games to win money on the side when this could also potentially affect my career and like how much I'm getting paid and stats and wins and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know the Chauncey Billups arrest, I believe, was of a different manner. He was fixing poker games or involved in illegal poker games with the
Illegal
mafia,
poker games, yeah, with
which is just
with
insane.
yeah, La Casa Nostra and three different crime families of the mafia. And that's why I said it's like, everyone kind of thinks it's cool to be in the mafia, but like don't actually do it. And like I wonder how that even happens. Like, did he approach them? Do they approach like every NBA coach? Are they going like, hey, Steve Kerr, do you want in on this? Right? Like, probably not. I don't know how those connections happen. But like even like back in the day, Ethan will know about this. Not that I've ever been part of the mafia, but we did have an idea back in the day to write a script for a mafia themed Christmas movie. I'm not going to go into it because I don't want
Okay.
anyone to steal all the details. But it's Italian Christmas Preacher, great movie idea. So like at some point or another, it's kind of like it's cool, but that's for the movies. Save it for the movies. Don't bring that into real life, especially when it can jeopardize your career.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you guys are sitting on a number one. Definitely, definitely see that forward. But yeah, I guess purely speculative, but I would imagine he probably went to one of these games as a player and then maybe just got so indebted that they're hanging over his head and they're kind of using him in that way
I
to
wonder if he
help with everything. But
I wonder if he knew though, because if I was sitting down to play poker or any sort of, like game like that, and if I know that somebody is involved with a crime family, I'm probably not going to continue playing that game.
yeah, you'd think, but that's rational thinking. And as we've discussed, gambling can bring in some, especially when you're dealing with big sums. You've made millions in your life. The stakes get a lot higher and a lot bigger. So I don't know. I guess I hope for the best for all these guys. Maybe they're proven innocent that they didn't do this, but either way, it's a bad look for the league. And yeah, going forward, if you're in the one of the four major league sports, okay, don't gamble on games, don't throw games, and yeah, just respect the integrity of the game, please. I need sports.
Absolutely. Okay, enough of that. Now we can get to the hockey talk. We can get to why you're all here. But I have an idea for a new segment. Um, we do this every time. I think after this episode, we should throw out some suggestions on social media, and we're gonna get the fans to name it. I think that'll be a good idea. Get
Good
them to
call.
vote on what we should call our new segment.
Good call. I respect that. I respect
You
that.
can you can go ahead though, because this will be your
For this episode, I'm going to call this segment Knucks in 5, okay? Set the timer, 5 minutes. We're going to talk about the Canucks and get it out of the way for all the people that
yeah,
don't want to hear
Ethan,
about it.
let us know when we're at the 5 minute mark, Ethan, for our 604
Okay,
update.
cool. Yeah, 604 update. Yeah, whatever the fans want to call it. Talk about the Canucks for 5 minutes here. Yeah, yeah, we're good. So, Vancouver Canucks started out as a great road trip, 3-0. Okay, everybody was high. Not that I thought they'd played amazingly well in all the periods of all the games. They're 3-0. End of the road trip, ugly loss to Pittsburgh. I get it. There were some injuries. Undermanned team. It was an ugly loss. The effort wasn't really there. Skip forward to Nashville. You're thinking, okay, whatever. Bad loss to Pittsburgh. If we can pull this one out against Nashville, it's not really a great team. Don't score very much. 4-1 road trip. That's awesome. We'll take that back. We'll be happy about that. They end up playing a very uninspired game against Nashville, I'd say. One of the ugliest games of hockey you're going to watch. Not a lot of chances either way. Very defensively sound. And the Canucks power play just looked awful. They had so many chances and did absolutely nothing with it, including a 5-on-3 for a minute and a half where they just didn't create any sort of offensive opportunity. So coming off that road trip, we're coming back home. We got a back-to-back against two very good teams, the Canadiens and the Oilers. And I'm getting a little nervous. Not that I thought this team was ever going to be a cup contender, but you don't want them to absolutely stink either based on what we've got on the roster and the implications at play with Hughes and everything. So play against Montreal. I unfortunately couldn't watch that game. I was working, but I was listening to Rinkwide Vancouver, shout out, after the game, which they always do, and they were talking pretty positively about the way the team performed. Obviously blew a 2-0 lead, which is never what you want. But Petey's starting to look better. He's starting to look more confident, getting to play a bit more. Lucas Reichel, new addition, which we haven't gotten a chance to talk about. Um, bring some speed to the lineup. Obviously, he was in a bad position playing that game. Didn't have a lot of sleep. Didn't have a lot of rest. Got murdered in the faceoff dot. But the team had a good showing. Okay, so you're coming into Sunday, which is yesterday at the time of recording. We got the big bad Oilers coming in. Okay, kind of the Canucks kryptonite. They've got two of the best players in the world. Everyone knows this. And a couple hours before the game, it comes out Quinn Hughes is not playing. Quinn Hughes is injured, which is about the most important person to any team in the league. He's day to day with an injury. They didn't specify. So I was worried. And then we come into the game and great start, which often happens with a team coming off a back to back. Your first period and a half are going to be great because your legs are already there. And as the game goes on, you kind of start to run out of gas because you're just more tired than the other team. They've had more rest. So the Canucks jump out early to a lead, 2-0, which is great, especially against this Oilers team, has massive offense. They're looking good. They're flying all over the place. Reichel's looking good. He's doing a lot better in the dot. The line of him, Besser, and Kane were creating. They had their legs under them. I'll say they were skating. And then we get a third goal with Kiefer Sherwood, man of the hour. Unbelievable game for him. Called offside because of Nolan's favorite player, Tyler Myers. He's like a foot offside when this happens. Insane play from him. Anyways, game goes on. The Oilers end up tying it. It's 3-3 at the end of the third. You're thinking again, okay, at least we got a point. It would suck to lose this one. Like 2 games in a row being up 2-0 and losing. Never what you want. Not a great sign. But what happens in overtime? The Oilers send out their massive players, McDavid, Draisaitl, Bouchard to start. We got Petey. We got Roenick. I think it was, I can't remember who started with those two. But either way, they shut the Oilers down, held their own, made sure we didn't get scored on the first period or the first shift overtime. And then what happens? Adam Foote makes a gutsy call to send out three forwards in overtime. Besser, Garland, Sherwood. And what do? As you can see here, folks, they rip the puck around, lots of cycles, lots of puck possession until eventually the puck finds Besser at the top of the zone. He puts a nice wrist shot on for Sherwood to tap in for a second of the game. That guy's looking for big money this next offseason. He's going to get a huge contract if he keeps playing the way he is. But yeah, so the Canucks 5-5, 10 games into the year. Not great, but considering all the injuries we've had, can't complain about it at all. It was a gutsy win yesterday. Sherwood's an absolute dog. Yeah, that's really what I got to say. Shout out Petey too, because he's turning it on. A 4-point weekend for him, 2 games, 2 goals. You love to see that. Need to keep it up, obviously, but they're trending in the right direction, I think.
Yeah, and I don't have much to add to that. I think you took all of it, so we're going to keep it under 5 minutes here. I guess the only thing I want to touch on, Lucas Reichel is naturally played on the wing, and he's played a lot of the wing in Chicago, so I don't think that really solves your center issues at all. But at the end of the day, he is a big skill guy, and secondary scoring is always important, especially not knowing what's going to happen with Evander Kane. So, first round draft pick, only making 1.2 million. Reichel is on a contract here, so if it doesn't work out,
That's 5 minutes, boys.
no big deal. And that is Ethan just informed me that we're at 5 minutes, so that's all I got to say about that one.
Can I just, the last thing I'll say, that is a large minus column there for Lucas Reichel. Minus 63 so far on the career. I don't know if you're ever
He's
climbing
a
out of that hole.
career Blackhawk so far, only 2 games with the Nucks.
It's
He's got
true, but
he's four
oof,
points in 7 games. 4 points in 7 games is pretty good. All four of those 4 points in 5 games with Chicago. That's pretty good.
it was. I've been
So
enthused by his two
something to
games with the
think about
Canucks.
there.
Bring speed, bring skill, but yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
if you're ever climbing out of that career minus 63.
yeah. Okay, well now what I want to move on to now, I think we should talk about another team in the Pacific Division. We always thought they were going to be good, and they have been good. Top of the division right now, Vegas Golden Knights secured their goaltending a little bit. Carter Hart going to be spending the better part of the next 2 years with the Vegas Golden Knights. I think this is a good signing for Vegas. They do have Aiden Hill locked down to 6 years. Is he having the greatest numbers in the world this season? Not really. I think what do I got here? He's at 273 goals against average, .88 save percentage. So it's not great, but you're winning the games. It's not the end of the world. They do have Akira Schmid backing them up, but you have Carter Hart. You're just gaining a little bit of stability there, I think. So all in all, I think that's a really good signing. And I think when you look back to their cup run, they had Logan Thompson, Aiden Hill, Laurent Brossoit, and Jonathan Quick all play games for them. So it's really important to have a wealth of goaltending. Usually I'm not a goalie tandem guy. I do think Aiden Hill is going to start as a clear number one, and we'll see how the numbers for Hart go. But I don't mind them adding, a little bit of assurance. And for Hart, I think Vegas is the perfect destination from the point of he was just part of the national media story. Vegas isn't a traditional hockey market, so maybe he gets lost in the background a little bit. It's not as big of a spotlight as if he's coming to Edmonton, like all the rumors were, per se.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Of all the places you could go for him, I mean, he's set up for success there because, like you said, they have Hill for 6 years. Is he an absolute world beater? No, but he's good enough to get the job done. And in certain cases, if you have the right guys, you can win a cup using goaltending by committee. So we'll see how Carter Hart affects that team, how taking a year and a half, 2 years off of hockey basically has impacted him. Um, but yeah, Vegas, my lord, as a start, 5-1-3 right now, first in the Pacific. They've just got so many guys. They're so deep. Marner's fit in like a glove. Jack Eichel's off to the best start in his career. Shocked to nobody, they did lose Mark Stone to injury. Um, I think last week.
Who would have
Yeah,
thought?
shocker. Can't believe that. But the NHL fixed it this offseason, so they can't go and add a bunch of elite talent and then bring him back for the playoffs. So that's nice. But yeah, Dorofeev off to just an absolutely amazing start. They've got guys that we all know are going to be good long term, like William Karlsson. Their fourth line's now nasty with Kolesar leading the way. Um, yeah, so Vegas, I mean, they're doing exactly what we all thought they were going to do and starting near hot.
Yeah, and speaking of other guys that I think are off to hot starts, you may have had the call of the century here because back when we did our Team Canada predictions, to be honest, I like my roster, but one of the topics we talked about was how Macklin Celebrini would factor in there. And you said if there's one rookie that makes, or not a rookie, sorry, a younger player, he's in his second season, he's not a rookie, but a younger guy that makes Team Canada out of Celebrini or Bedard, who would it be? And boy, oh boy, Macklin Celebrini is on a heater right now. He's played 9 games and he's got 15 points, uh, which is not bad on a terrible team, the San Jose Sharks, seventh in the division. So my question is, um, we got another guy on the other side of the league, Matthew Schaefer, rookie stepping up. Schaefer's got, what do I have it here? 7 points in 8 games as a defenseman on the New York Islanders, a team that traditionally doesn't produce a lot of offense. So my question is, do both those guys make Team Canada if we're thinking about that right now? Or I think Celebrini is definitely making the case. Schaefer, is a little inexperienced. Maybe you don't want to put a first year player on an Olympic roster without seeing how they perform in a high pressure professional situation. But at the same time, Matthew Schaefer, um, he's eighth among defensemen in points right now. Only two Canadian defensemen have more points than him, those being Cale Makar and Thomas Harley.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I was listening to another podcast, I guess today, trying to get some info. 32 Thoughts, shout out Elliot Friedman. But they were talking about how Elliot was massive on that Celebrini should be the 14th forward on Canada. And I said it in the summer, nothing's changed my mind so far. I absolutely think he should be on the team. One, because of how offensively gifted he is. He's just his brain. It's just insane the way he sees the game, the things he can set up, just knows where to be at all times. And they were mentioning that in 2006, one of the biggest drawbacks of that team was not bringing Crosby. One, because he probably could have helped you in the moment, but two, because going forward, you can't replace those lessons you learned just from being around older guys, being around the vets, seeing how they work day to day, seeing how they handle big moments. And I think for Celebrini, since he's got into the league, he's just shown nothing but poised, ready for it. The moment's not too big for him. Now we haven't seen him on a stage, obviously as big as the Olympics. There's really only one stage in hockey as big as the Olympics. But I fully agree with you. He's been ridiculously hot to start the year, and that San Jose team, man, once they start getting some defensemen on board that can match the offensive potency that they have, they are going to be a problem in a couple of years. And yeah, Celebrini, like you were saying, 15 points in 9 games to start the year. Just absolutely ridiculous what this guy can do. And not only that, he's sound on both ends of the ice. Seems like naturally, that's just the style of his game. He thinks defensive end is really important as well. So I think if you're Team Canada, especially if he keeps up this point pace, how are you not going to take him? Like he's proving he's one of the best players in the NHL right now at 19 years old. It's great for the right now. It's great for the future of Hockey Canada going forward. And yeah, just ridiculous. You brought up Matthew Schaefer. I mean, he's, I think, blowing expectations out of the water. Everybody, I think, knew he was going to make the Islanders coming out of camp, but he has completely revitalized that team in terms of their excitement, the ability to
And
turn on a TV and be like, "Oh, the Islanders are playing. Yeah, I'll watch them. They're an exciting team. They've got some guys I want to turn the TV on for." So,
you
does
know what?
he?
It's so funny. Sorry, it's so funny that you mentioned that because the other day I was just, flicking through. I'm like, what games are on? What games are live? And I settled on Philadelphia and the Islanders, which I would never watch in a million years. And there were not so much by the Islanders. They were on a pretty tight ship, but Philadelphia, the guys were making a lot of the mistakes, but it's so fun to watch. It was just up and down hockey, speed, young guy and flashy plays. But yeah, it is kind of fun to watch. And I think to me, Celebrini, um, for sure deserves a spot on that roster if he's playing the way he is. I think Schaefer deserves a spot as well. I think I'd be a little bit more hesitant to go into a tournament with a young defenseman rather than a young forward, just because defense is so important. And in a tournament where you only have 3 games before it's knockouts, you need to be on the ball right from day one. You can't be having an adjustment period. Um, so I'd be a little bit more hesitant with him. And it's so funny that you mentioned defensemen producing offense. And obviously, I don't think this is sustainable, but I do think it's kind of funny that Dmitry Orlov of the San Jose Sharks is top 5 in points by a defenseman right now. I think that's kind of cool. He's been on the ice with Celebrini a lot, I imagine.
Yeah, probably soaking up those power play 1 minutes. I don't even know, to be honest, if he's on power play 1, but I'm figuring there's no way Dmitry Orlov is having these types of numbers if he's not on the first power play over there. So
I don't think they have anyone else to put on the first power
exactly.
play. I think for right now, I don't have Schaefer on that team just because I'd be really nervous about a rookie defenseman compared to all the experienced Team Canada guys. But I definitely do have Celebrini, and if Schaefer sneaks on there, I wouldn't be super surprised.
I think it's a big compliment to Schaefer so far that he's worked his way this quickly into the conversation. Because I think absolutely you do have to bring up his name. And like you said, it is a little bit scarier when you're going in with a young defenseman because of a they do have a bit more to bear on their shoulders in terms of defensive responsibility, which is huge when it comes to Olympic hockey because it's the best of the best, right? It's not going to be super high flying for the most part. You'd imagine they're all going to be very defensively sound and conscious of what's going on in that end. So I think it's one of those things where you have to monitor how he's going the rest of the year, see if the grind of the season starts to take a toll on him as we get into the winter months, a bit more so here, December, January, see how it's going. But if he's just proving out and out that he's one of your best guys, I don't think it hurts to take him as a seventh D and maybe mix him in for a game or two if you need for injury. We saw what happened with Shea Theodore first game of Four Nations. Injuries are definitely possible. They're going to happen, but it's nice to see Canada having some young guys coming up that are really going to be able to carry the torch and going to be able to make a big impact going forward on the Olympic aspirations and just overall worldwide aspirations of Team Canada. Be nice to see a goalie come up and be big for Canada, though.
Yeah, I think the NCAA will help that too, with the new way that's structured because Canadian guys that would normally be stuck playing the CHL get to go down south and further their development. So I think that'll be huge for the development of Canadian talent.
Yeah, and I brought it up briefly there, and we don't want to spend a ton of time on it, but I think a couple guys that deserve to get shouted out here to start the year. One, because we were talking about Team Canada, Logan Thompson. If this guy's not your starter for Team Canada, I don't know what you're doing. He's currently sporting a 1.5 GAA and a
I,
938 save percentage to start the year. Like, how can you ignore this?
I think it's hard to get away from Jordan Bennington just because he is such a big game goalie, but I agree that Logan Thompson should be on the team and he should have been invited to the orientation camp. I think that was a huge miss.
Agreed. Insane they left him off the orientation camp roster. And I fully agree with you on Bennington, too. There's no way, especially after his Four Nations performance, that he's not going to be on the team, just with all that experience and especially the way he steps up in big moments. But having him and Logan Thompson kind of competing, if you want to say that, during the round robin, and seeing, okay, who's going to earn that spot as a starter, I think is a good play. The other guy I wanted to shout out, currently playing unreal between the pipes. Montreal Canadiens have got a guy, dude. Jakub Dobeš.
Jakob, yes.
Jakub Dobeš, the Czech stud for the Montreal Canadiens so far this year. He is just lighting up. Currently, he's second behind Logan Thompson in GAA with 1.77, but he's leading the league in save percentage, rocking a 940 so far in his 5 starts. I believe he's at 5 starts. Let me check that real quick. Yes, 5 starts on the year. But just going back throughout this guy's whole history, he started obviously in the Czech Republic, and ever since 2018-19 when he came over to North America, this guy played in the Null, okay, which I know, and I don't know if you are aware with your
That's Switzerland,
no,
right?
so the Null is a
The
North American
NAL.
hockey league.
Oh, I thought like NAL, like National League, Swiss
Oh,
hockey.
sorry.
That's where I was going with that.
No, very, very understandable. But so this guy's first team in North America were the Topeka Pilots of the North American Hockey League, which is just like, I mean, pretty cool. He absolutely dominated that league and then got called up to the USHL Omaha Lancers. Or I don't know if he was called up or if it was the new season he made the team. But anyways, ever since then, he's just been on a rocket ship to the NHL. It was unbelievable at Ohio State. His first year there had a 226 and a 934 split. I mean, you can't get much better than that. And then spent a bit of time in the AHL, and now really just showing his stuff at the NHL, and especially for that team with Montreal, who's so high flying, fun to watch, exciting. Got to see him in Vancouver on Saturday night. Having a guy like that where you can trust between the pipes, I think Montreal has got a shot this year so far.
Yeah, Montreal, I had them in my prediction second in the division. I think they're still a little, inexperienced to make a deep playoff run, but Montreal has the foundation, I think, out of any team in the league, minus the defending Cup champs, of a Stanley Cup winning team. Like they have such a solid foundation in Montreal.
Yeah, hard to go wrong there. They've done it the right way. Rebuilds are hard to go through at the time, but if you can get it right, I mean that's the way to set yourself up for long-term success. Um, are there any other
Yeah.
teams or guys you want to highlight?
I have a fun story. I have a fun story to highlight, and this is only I could ever pull this story out of a hat because,
Okay.
well, it's not my story. The person whose story it is could pull it out of a hat. But there are two things I'm very passionate about in life. One is hockey, and the other one is Survivor, and we kind of get to blend the two worlds here. So, the Minnesota Wild have a young player by the name of Danila Yurov scored his first NHL goal the other day, and I know you guys know the story. Most of our listeners probably don't. He's taken 24th overall. And yeah, big Russian dude. Hopefully he'll be good for them. I've honestly never heard of him until this story, so we'll see how it goes. But he almost wasn't drafted into the National Hockey League. I'm not going to tell the full story because it's not my full story to tell, and it was told on a different podcast. And he almost wasn't drafted, and a lady named Eva Eriksson helped him kind of get drafted into the National Hockey League. She's from Minnesota. He went to the hometown team. But the cool thing about this is that she was on Survivor a few years later after this. So this was before she was on Survivor. She ended up finishing second. Okay. And the coolest thing about this ever, first of all, I'm going to hype her up a lot because I want her to come on the pod. I don't know why she would, but
Never know.
there's a chance. Yeah, you come on the pod. But this is such a cool thing. First of all, she has her own merch line, uh, which is the Fiji Hockey Club. So go check it out. Also, if you want any high flying hats, order it from us. It's the Fiji Hockey Club, and what it does, it combines hockey and Survivor, and it's just a very simple merch line. But part of the proceeds go towards the special hockey program in Minnesota. I think it's so cool, and I'd love to hear from her kind of what inspired this all. Obviously, it was her playing Survivor and her love of hockey that made her combine the two. But there have been so many athletes on Survivor, former NHL players, former MLB players, NFL, and none of them have come out with a Survivor merch line. And then, so the other super cool thing with Eva as well is she plays at Brown University, which is really sick. And Eva herself has been diagnosed with autism, so she's a big advocate for that. Had a super human moment on Survivor about it, season 48. If you haven't seen it, um, brought Jeff to tears. I don't think I remember anyone ever making Jeff cry. I don't really want to spoil anything though, so I'd love her to come on the pod and she can tell the Danila Yurov story herself. But just super cool how she, has overcome obstacles and is doing it with hockey and Survivor, and now combining the two. So I would love to have her on and talk to her about that. Hopefully, she will see this somehow, and for whatever reason, agree to join us.
No, that'd be sweet. We could ask her about all of it, the hockey side of it, the Survivor aspect. I'm sure you could ask some pretty good questions about Survivor and what it was like and the whole experience. So yeah, Eva, please come on. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, it'd be so sick. I'm definitely going to tag her in this, and then you can get her merch. There's a link on her Instagram. We'll put the Instagram in the bio when we post this. Last thing that I have, just do you want to do like a fun little trivia to wrap it up, Jude?
Let's do it.
Okay, so Mark Scheifele just passed Blake Wheeler to become the Winnipeg Jets' all-time leading scorer in the Jets Thrashers franchise. Blake Wheeler had 812 points. Scheifele has now surpassed that. Do you know the four other players that are currently playing on their team as the franchise leader? They're
Ooh,
leading their current team.
wow, that's a good question. In like all-time points, you're talking.
All-time points, there are four teams or four other franchises other than the Winnipeg Jets that have their all-time point scorer still currently playing for the team. I do not count the Utah Mammoth for this.
Okay, okay. Let's see if I can do this. I'm gonna go one, Alex Ovechkin in the Washington Capitals.
Alex Ovechkin definitely has the most, 1,623 points coming into this season. That is correct.
Okay, I'm gonna also go. This one could be wrong, but I feel like Sidney Crosby.
Sidney Crosby is wrong. It's still Mario Lemieux.
Damn it! I know he passed him in assists, but okay. Anyways, thought I'd take a shot at that. So we got one. Anze Kopitar, LA Kings. Is
No. No.
that Marcel Dion?
Marcel Dion.
Shit. Okay.
Yes. And the fun thing is there's one from each division. So I'll help you out. You got the Metro division down, and then there's one team in the Atlantic, one in the Pacific, and one in the Central.
Mm. Let's go.
One of
Let's
these is
go.
a go ahead.
I was gonna guess potentially Alexander Barkov, Florida Panthers.
Alexander Barkov is correct. Yeah, 782 points coming into the season. That's correct.
Cool.
And then you got two teams in the West. One of these players is a former Vancouver Canuck.
Really? Wow. Oof. That's tough. The Central's the one that's. Are we counting Vegas in this?
We're counting Vegas and Seattle.
I'm gonna
So
guess Jack
Vegas,
Eichel
it's
with
not
Vegas.
Vegas. Vegas is Jonathan Marchessault. Um, the Canuck is in the Pacific Division, the former Canuck.
And he.
Jared
Oh,
McCann with the
Jared
Seattle
McCann with
Kraken,
the Seattle Kraken.
243 points
Jeez.
going into this season.
Okay, not bad.
And then I want to see if you can get the Central. I do have a hint if you can't get it.
Okay. Obviously, we're excluding Mark Scheifele from this.
Excluding Mark Scheifele, yes.
Okay. Oh, this one might be wild too, but is it Roman Yossi with the Predators?
It is Roman Yossi, 724 points coming into this season. One of only two defensemen to lead their franchise all time in scoring. The other one is Ray Bourque with the
Well, that
Boston
started out
Bruins.
bad for me. I feel like I closed it out hot, so let's go.
Yeah, there we go.
Last thing, shout out Nick Schmaltz. He's currently leading the league in points. With
Yeah, we can talk
16.
about that. It's
The
I don't
Mammoth are
expect,
going crazy.
yeah, I don't expect them to go undefeated, but they've won 8 in a row since unveiling their mascot Tusky. Nick Schmaltz, 16 points. Him and Cooley both have 7 goals. Sergachev 8 points in 10 games played. That's pretty good. The big question of their goaltending has been solved. Karel Vejmelka, fairly average numbers at 243 goals against average, 905 save percentage, but that's pretty solid. Vitek Vanacek, 200 goals against average and a 0.913 save percentage. So if they can sustain this, it seems like their goaltending questions have been answered, at least for the time being.
Yeah, when you got a team playing in front of you like the Mammoth are, they obviously last year I saw them a lot against the Canucks, super fast, and they added some really good depth pieces like Brandon Tanev, gonna help you not get pushed around as much. Guy that we're both familiar with, Nate Schmidt, also coming in there, now Cup champion.
Winnipeg
Can't
Jets legend.
Yeah, can't hurt coming in there, stabilizing the decor a bit. But yeah, so Vejmelka, as long as he can keep his numbers where they are, I think a team like the Mammoth, you can get away with it with if your goal is going to be solid like that. Obviously, he might not necessarily steal you games, but he's definitely not costing them games either. So if they can keep the train going like they are right now, then yeah, they might be able to make some noise come playoff time.
Yeah, so I think my takeaways, what we've learned for this episode is a mascot can elevate a franchise, don't gamble illegally, and go Jays.
I'll agree with both of those first two sentiments. Absolutely. Never gonna get that third one from me, but definitely fuck the Dodgers.
There you go.
So
Thank you for tuning in and listening and watching, and we'll be back next week with another episode.
also shout out to Who if you can catch them on tour while they're going right now.